We have a party that I think needs to design and develop a compelling economic vision for the future where people feel included, to reconcile the fact that if we don't democratize our economy, we're not going to save democracy. And I don't think it's healthy.
Gavin Newsom says this to you. Thanks, Donald Trump. Burbank Airport has 0 air traffic controllers from 4:15 to 10 p.m. today because of your government shutdown. I know you guys like to spar. Do you have an answer for it?
This guy's unbelievable. The bottom line is, every Republican has voted to keep the government open.
Get ready, because things just got wild between Duffy and Governor Gavin Newsom. And yes, that Gavin Newsom. What started as a heated exchange quickly turned into a complete takedown. Duffy didn't just challenge the governor, he hit every weak spot, from the polished image to the same old talking points we've all heard before. At one point, Newsom looked completely stunned, like he lost his train of thought right in the middle of the moment. What happened next felt less like a debate and more like an all-out political roast. So buckle up, because this chaotic showdown is something you have to see to believe.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about our democracy. It's about the future of this republic. I think it's about, what the founding fathers lived and died for. This notion of the rule of law, not the rule of Don. This notion of popular sovereignty, fundamentally.
We pulled $40 million from the state of California because they were refusing to comply with our English proficiency language requirements. We're getting information from state troopers in the state of California that Gavin Newsom has specifically told them, don't comply with this requirement from the Department of Transportation.
Duffy burst into the political scene like someone kicking open the door to a quiet room. Loud, fearless, and completely unconcerned with the usual rules. While most politicians stick to polished speeches and carefully practiced smiles, Duffy came in with zero patience for nonsense, and the kind of confidence you normally only see from people who refuse to back down from any argument.
Senate, it was a bipartisan vote. It was Democrats that voted to shut down the government, and Gavin Newsom wants to blame Donald Trump, who had a clean CR. They're fighting over potential money going into Obamacare and healthcare subsidies that happen at the end of this year, right? The reason they're shutting it down today is because illegals aren't getting health benefits today because of what Donald Trump did in the big, beautiful bill. So again, they're saying we care about what's going to happen at the end of the year, but they're shutting it down right now because they want illegals.
If you're enjoying the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It really does help support the content more than you might think. Everything started with one simple comment from Duffy, but landed hard. It was the kind of remark that instantly cuts through the noise and puts everyone on notice. You could almost see the governor's usual calm confidence start to slip for a moment. What made it hit even harder was that Duffy didn't need to yell or put on some dramatic performance. He stayed calm, sharp, and funny, delivering the kind of perfectly timed jab that lands before anyone even sees it coming.
Number one. But number two, in regard to the non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses, we've asked for compliance for those states to again go back and look at the licenses to verify that they were issued lawfully. California is less than cooperative, and we're in the process of going through a review, and we have the opportunity to pull $160 million of additional dollars from the state of California.
Without any warning, Newsom suddenly found himself at the center of a highlight reel he definitely never planned to be part of. Duffy moved through the exchange with calm confidence, casually pointing out contradictions like they were impossible to miss. The way he delivered it made it seem like these problems were obvious to anyone simply paying attention, and that relaxed approach only made the criticism hit even harder.
You get a license, Lawrence, in California. That doesn't mean you stay with your CDL in California. You can drive anywhere in the country.
Sean, my dad's a truck driver. He's been telling me about this for years, but shouldn't the punishment be more severe? If you're putting someone on the road and you know they didn't pass that test, and your son, someone dies, you're a former prosecutor. They should be held criminally liable for that.
But am I going to prosecute Gavin Newsom for not following the law?
Of course. If people die.
Meanwhile, the governor looked completely caught off guard as Duffy tore through the polished image with sharp, hilarious precision. There was no real debate, just a brutal but clever breakdown of the policies, public appearances, and carefully crafted persona that usually keep everything looking perfect. Even Gavin Newsom's calm, picture-ready confidence suddenly felt like part of the punchline. It wasn't mean-spirited, just painfully accurate in a way that left nowhere to hide.
Secretary Noem, we have driven those numbers down. We got California. Gavin Newsom
to revoke 17,000 unlawfully issued licenses. We've closed down half of the fake schools that give out these fake licenses, all critically important. Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota gave 33% of these licenses unlawfully. People that should never have a driver's license driving a big rig on American roads.
Trust me, this moment caught a lot of people off guard. Duffy handled the whole breakdown like a food critic exposing a fancy restaurant that looks amazing but serves tiny portions with no real substance. The polished speeches, dramatic pauses, and picture-perfect image were all peeled back layer by layer. Without the spotlight and smooth presentation, the governor's carefully crafted confidence started falling apart fast. What made it even sharper was Duffy's delivery. He wasn't angry or over the top. He stayed calm, playful, and completely in control, almost like someone lightly testing how long a balloon could hold pressure before making noise. And it definitely made noise. That flawless public image suddenly looked shaky, like a glitching hologram losing signal. Duffy calmly pointed out the obvious problems, the ignored details, and the questions people should have asked long ago, all without missing a beat.
Years into the future because of the shutdown. Yes.
Chase Williams at Fox Business. You said if California doesn't comply, you're going to withhold federal highway fund. I think you said $160 million. That'll double in year two. Have you spoken to Governor Newsom, and have there been any discussions between you two?
We haven't talked. I've seen some tweets he sent out, but no, we haven't had a conversation. Open to talk to him. Again, we just want compliance. We want him to be concerned about the safety.
As the breakdown continued, viewers were stunned because it felt like a live masterclass in political roasting. Duffy moved smoothly from point to point, quickly exposing inconsistencies and decisions that didn't hold up under pressure. Just when it seemed like he was done, he would find another crack in the polished image and keep going. Gavin Newsom, usually surrounded by applause and control, suddenly found himself at the center of a roast he didn't see coming. Duffy stayed calm and sharp the whole time, unpacking years of public moments and promises with ease. In the end, there was more than enough material to keep the commentary going without pause.
Very simple. Get into compliance now, or we'll pull funding and we'll force you into compliance. Nowhere in the country have we found a more egregious licensing situation than in the state of California. That's why the second action we're announcing today is an additional enforcement action against California. So for 2 weeks, FMCSA investigators were on site in California actually looking at their records.
As the commentary continued, the audience laughed and nodded, surprised by how accurate Duffy's points were. It wasn't harsh, just honest in a way that hit harder than insults. Newsom's polished public image didn't hold up under Duffy's sharp, funny observations. Some lines were so on point people had to replay them. He quickly pointed out clear contradictions and moved on to the next issue, keeping the whole thing flowing. Every assumption got challenged, and every weak spot was highlighted with sharp, easy humor.
Basically switch the penalty to be a slap on the wrist. No real penalty if you can't speak the language. We went back to the pre-Obama change and would take vehicles out of service, which is very complicated for a company if you're taking their vehicles out of service. We went back to the old rule. One of the problems we have is California was the only state that, in essence, have told their law enforcement officers not to enforce English proficiency rules.
The finale landed like the last piece of a puzzle clicking into place. Duffy wrapped everything up calmly without needing drama or applause. Newsom's polished image had been completely picked apart, not with anger, but with sharp, well-timed humor. By the end, it was clear Duffy had cut through the political shine and left nothing untouched. What once looked solid and untouchable now felt fragile and overpolished. His final points came like discoveries in a game, each one revealing another flaw and making the whole picture harder to ignore.
So let's just put that another way. Over 25% of these licenses, they were issued illegally. So let me give you some examples. So on this slide, this is driver PND from Brazil. So California gave him a CDL with endorsements to drive a passenger bus and a school bus that was valid for months after his legal presence in the U.S. had expired.
There was no hesitation or struggle, just a steady breakdown of a carefully polished public image built on smooth speeches and picture-perfect posture. Under Duffy's sharp comedic eye, every gesture and appearance became fair game. His delivery had a natural rhythm, like a story unfolding in real time, moving from one sharp observation to the next. One moment he pointed out a flawless public appearance, and the next he showed how it didn't fully match what was underneath. The tone stayed light and controlled, shifting easily between humor and disbelief. Instead of loud criticism, Duffy used calm, precise wording that made the impact even stronger. At one point, he even compared the governor's dramatic style to a fashion show full of contradictions, where every pose felt like it was meant for attention. Without any hostility, he peeled back the polished surface and revealed the more awkward, human side of political performance.
So they have stopped, but then we said you have to go back and review for the ones you've illegally issued. And a lot of states have been willing to comply. Again, California has been unwilling. So there's additional money we can pull from them. At one point, we can pull their authority to even issue commercial driver's licenses. Now, I don't want to fight with Gavin Newsom. I just want them to comply. You want people to be safe, right? And if you see these crashes, it is truly problematic.
The whole breakdown flowed smoothly, like a well-told story that kept pulling the audience along. Duffy moved from point to point with ease, turning even small slip-ups in policy or messaging into light, clever humor without ever forcing it. Instead of attacking, he simply pointed things out with calm precision, making the impact feel natural and funny at the same time. It was like watching someone handle a complex routine effortlessly while staying completely relaxed. As he went further, Newsom's carefully polished image started to feel less solid and more fragile, like a display that couldn't quite hold up under close inspection. Duffy didn't need exaggeration or drama. Just clear observation was enough to shift the whole picture and bring out the humor in it.
We're here to talk about, I think, a critical issue, important issue in regard to the safety of our roadways. Because we have a government system designed to keep American families on the road safe, but that system has been compromised. I'm talking about non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses that are issued across the country. So in plain English, this is a license to operate a massive 80,000-pound truck that's being issued to foreign drivers.
Duffy's roast got even sharper as he compared the governor's grand speeches to an actor confidently auditioning for a role he already thinks he's got. The polished gestures and perfectly timed pauses all became part of the joke, fueling his commentary. He then shifted into a simple but funny comparison. Political promises as movie trailers, exciting and polished, but often better than what follows. The audience didn't need much explanation because the contrast spoke for itself. By the end, it was clear Duffy wasn't targeting a person as much as the performance itself. He tied all the earlier points together, contradictions, gaps, and glossy presentations, into a smooth finish. And instead of a dramatic ending, he closed calmly, letting the humor land on its own.